And you can type it in the chat if you want. Or if you have any questions, if you have any concerns. Now, don't forget about the readings and videos this week. I don't know if I went over those, but those are going to be, sure, I can go over the cloning tool one more time. Definitely. Let me download one of the images from the week 2 assignment. I'm going to download the Haley image. This one I feel like really uses the cloning tool. All right, so the cloning tool is most definitely the one that is the hardest to demonstrate online without somebody standing over me and looking at my keyboard. This is the hardest thing to demo and show. So I'm just going to really be specific about what it is that I'm doing. So let's find it. Over here, clone stamp tool, there we go. All right. So what you need to do is you need to hold down Option. I'm going to try to make my brush really big right now. So let's say that I want to get rid of this little, let me just zoom in. I want to get rid of this little speck of dust right here. So I'm going to go to the clone stamp tool and I need to target what I want to paint and put over there. So I'm targeting right here. See how it gives me that bullseye showing that I'm targeting? I'm holding down the Option key and I'm getting that bullseye. So now when I paint, I'm painting starting from where that bullseye was. Another way to show this, hold on, maybe, let me make another visual so that might make it a little bit more sense for this. Hold on one second. I think this might be an easier way to do this. All right, so I have 3 stripes here. I am going to go to the clone stamp tool and I'm going to target the red stripe right here. I'm actually going to change my hardness to 100% for this as well. And I'm going to start right at the corner here, okay? And see how it gives me, it shows me the corner right where I targeted. And it's even giving me that edge that's right there. That's where it's going to start painting. So now, as I start to paint, see how there's that hatch mark still in the upper left-hand corner? Watch what happens. It's going to paint right where it targets. Oh, and then when I hit the yellow, it's still painting. Then when I hit the blue, it's still painting. So if I don't ever let go of the mouse, it's not going to stop from the original point where I targeted and moving on through the image. So I can make an exact clone as long as I don't let go of my mouse button, because once I let go of my mouse button, I have to retarget something. So I can repaint these 3 stripes by not letting up. But most of the time, you know, we're trying to target and you know, create an image that is there we go. Oh, I missed it. I knew I was gonna miss one part because I couldn't see what I was doing. Let me come right to the corner here. Oh, there we go. And right to the corner of these normally. And done. All right. So I made an exact clone of this. And again, this is a really simplistic kind of way to show it, but that's what the clone stamp tool does. Now, normally in a photo like this, you're constantly going to be, you know, grabbing from a different area so it looks as natural as possible. It literally is remembering what I did over here for some reason. So to get rid of these blemishes here, I'm going to target the gradient and target again the gradient and target again the gradient that's closest. So that way I can get rid of those blemishes and it looks as natural as possible. So I'm going to go in, let me view, turn off these extras, it'll be easier to see. And again, going to my clone stamp tool, I'm going to target over here and then zoom out. And I would do the same exact thing on her face to, you know, start to get rid of some of these blemishes. I'm actually going to turn off my keycaster because it will be easier for you guys to see. I'm like, where did you go, Photoshop? All right. So I'm going to make this as small as possible. And I'm really going to kind of zoom in on this area. And I need to start to grab and fix some of these blemishes where you can see there's just a lot of pixel information happening. So this one would have probably been great for the the spot healing tool, but because I'm trying to show you with the clone stamp tool, that's going to take a little bit longer to do. But you can see where I just need to kind of like click. And then maybe even change my opacity in some instances, bring it down a little. Redraw in some of these areas. Whoops. And it's hard, you know, people's faces, that's mainly what people want to have photoshopped. And it's like, that's one of, I'm not gonna lie, it's one of like the hardest things to do and make it still look right. I'm just trying to very subtly remove some of the dark circles from under her eyes without making it look too photoshopped. And again, this is where kind of the, you know, your patterns can start to go awry because it can look very, very, very patterned. So you have to really kind of zoom in, zoom out, zoom in, zoom out. And then she's got some mascara that kind of got up in here. And you want to make sure that you can still see the pores too. So you can blur a little, but I would bring the strength down to like 20% on somebody's face because you don't want them to look too blurred, obviously. But this is a good area like under the eyes to try to fix things a little, although that still looks too blurred. Maybe bring it down to 10% strength and maybe make the brush a little bit bigger. There we go. So now that's how you would use the clone stamp tool. I hope that the lines kind of helped. I know again it's really simplistic, but it's kind of hard to explain on a photo what it is that we're doing if you can't see where I'm clicking. You know, by watching what my hands are doing and everything else. Did that help at all? With a dark spot on her back, how would I do that? The dark spot on her back. So you mean right here? I wouldn't take that out, honestly, because again, going back, you know, that's a shadow, so I wouldn't take that out. If anything, I might try to lighten it a little bit, which you can use an adjustment layer to do that. Maybe the curves might work. No worries, no worries. Yeah. Yeah, because it's, you know, again, this kind of goes back to, you know, making sure that it still looks real when you're done. Might even try a little bit of a levels layer. Bouncing a little bit. Always watch the eyes when you're color correcting. So if the eyes get, like if her eyes start to get too blue, like the whites of the eyes, you know that you're a bit off. Or if they start to get too green, or if they start to get too red, things like that. Although you can do things like really, you know, bump up the green and the blue, or the green in there, and then bring down the level. So let's say if we did something like this, and then we added a mask to it. We can kind of just make the color of her eyes pop just a bit without the rest of her skin. So you can tell she's definitely got like kind of lightish, greenish, bluish eyes. So that's one way we can do it. And then select, oh yeah. You could even do another levels layer and maybe go into the red layer and really add some more color again to kind of her lips. By adjusting it, and then do the same thing again. Add a layer mask to the layer mask. Select everything, and then fill it with black so nothing is selected basically, and then go in with the eraser on that on that layer right there, and kind of start to erase out her lips. Which is a little bit difficult to do because you don't want to get, the edge can get a little weird. So you almost need to really bring down the opacity as you get closer to the edge to kind of ghost it in and blend it in with the rest of her face. So that's one way you can do it. And a little bit more pink to her eye right there, so she looks alive. I mean, you could even like kind of pink up her cheeks this way. You know, make it look like she's wearing, you know, a little bit of blush if you wanted to. I would bring the hardness down to 0, leave the opacity maybe at 10%, and just right here, kind of pink up her cheeks. That one, that's a little color. And then again, you can get back to the other one just by turning these off so you can see, you know, we've lightened her up. I would probably bring down this curves level a little bit. I think she's lightened up a little too much. Maybe down to 30%. Yeah. There we go. So she's coming along. And I mean, I would still need to go in, and again, I think that spot healing would probably be the best. Right here, whoops. And I did do, whoops. I did do a no-no right from the beginning. I didn't make an adjustment layer to do everything on because I was like, oh, I'll just demo really quick this. So do as I say, not as I do with this one, right? And then, you know, that's probably the best way to explain it. You know, could I over time go in and take out the shadow if I really had to? Yes, I could. I could. It would probably take me maybe an hour or two to do that. You know, to get the skin right and to match the skin from over here and to, you know, really, really get in there and do it. Because there's not a lot of there's not a lot of information here. And when I say information, if we really zoom in and we turn off the extras, you can see how it's just become kind of this black hole right here. Whereas there's a lot more texture that's happening over here. So I would have to actually mimic that texture and mimic the bone right there. So there's just so much work that would go into that. It can be done, obviously. I mean, people at Pixar, you know, they draw skin all the time, but it takes a lot of work, and they have patterns that they apply to things. That's one of the ways that they do it. All right, great. I'm glad that was helpful. I'm glad you asked. I'm glad you came in and asked because I'm hoping that this will be helpful to a couple of other people. More often than not, what I would probably end up doing is being told to get rid of this rogue hair right here. You know, this kind of just this rogue hair that's happening. You know, that's a great way to use the clone mask tool. Do something like that. And again, you need to just be aware of shadows and how the shadows are moving in. So you can't just go and draw because it's gonna, I'll just show you. It's gonna, see, it's not, it kind of does this like weird hazing pattern. So that's where you really need to click and paint, 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 because you're going to need to source from all different areas to make it look natural, so it doesn't look like it's just a copy, like it's just a copy, because then that doesn't look natural either. So sometimes it takes going in from different areas and figuring out, like, all right, like the shadow's probably working this way. Like maybe if I work this area down and then working down to here, you know, and then the shadow's kind of coming in like this. Whoops. So it's just being aware of really what's going, like that got weird right there, what's going on in the picture. And sometimes you can blur to fix it, other times you really can't. All right, great. Does anybody else have any other questions? I'm literally sitting here trying to figure out if that's a blemish on the picture or a blemish on my monitor. My monitor is so dirty. I need to wash this thing. Does anybody else have anything from last week that they would like me to go over? The clone stamp tool is one of the hardest tools to master in Photoshop. And you guys are doing great with it. It took me years to master the clone stamp tool. Seriously, you guys have been in this class for, 2.5 weeks at this point. So you're doing awesome. You guys are doing awesome. I'm really, really happy with everything, with what I'm seeing. All right, if no one else has any other questions, we'll end for today. Thank you guys so much for you guys who were able to make it. I really appreciate it. And if you have any questions, any concerns, if you're running into any problems, make sure to come to our multi-session tomorrow. It's at the same time as the live session. Again, those aren't recorded, but we can take a look at your screen. We can see what's going on. We can help you get caught up. You can always text. You can always email me. You can call me. You know I'm here to help. All right. Have a great night, everyone. Bye.